so concerned with your own space and time, but you feel like there's something more. You hear voices from your past saying who you are and how you should act, but you only want.
Please bear with me. Just breathing in, recognizing that there is one power, a presence that is in and through everything. It is in the majestic mountains in my drive-in. It is in the eyes that I gaze upon. And that presence and that power is the wonder of the season we've just come from. And the wonder that we are here and now. I just give great thanks for all those who gather today, all those who have come, all those who have worked tirelessly through the week to just make this service possible. I give great thanks for all the volunteers, Reverend Jen, and all those who gather, whether it be in mosque, sweat lodge, or cozied up at home. Your presence is perfect. I give great thanks for this day, knowing that what I need to hear is told through the voice and the connection and the conduit of Reverend Jen, as she is one with that divine source. And it is in this space of absolute gratitude that I release this time, knowing it is perfect as we affirm together in one voice. And so it is. The words of inspiration today come first from Helen Keller. Everything has its wonders, even darkness and silence. And I learn, whatever state I may be in, therein to be content. And from Ronald Reagan, there are no great limits to growth because there are no limits of human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. And from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, thoughts of lack, poverty, and limitation contain within themselves the conditions necessary to produce lack, poverty, and limitation. Remember that we are not dealing with two powers, but one. The law knows us only as we first know ourselves. We make up its mind because its mind is subjective. The Spirit controls the law. This is the great mystery, the limitless wonder of the universe, that which out of nothing can make something.
Valerie Carr wrote a book that was released in 2020 entitled See No Stranger. I have made reference to her book and her amazing presence and the things that she does, the work that she does numerous times over the past year and a half, 2 years, however long that is, I can't keep track. Anyway, the very first chapter in her book is called Wonder. And in this chapter, she talks about Guru Nanak. And I know Russell shared a quote of his last week, and maybe you don't know much about him, so I'm going to share a little bit about him. 5 centuries ago, in a village in Punjab, India, Nanak lived. And he was deeply troubled as a young man because there was so much violence around him. The violence was between the Hindus and the Buddhists, which is interesting that there would be violence in those two philosophies. But there was chaos, there was turmoil. Everything was out of whack, out of control. It was every day there was like more trauma, more drama. And so one day he just walked down to the river and he disappeared for 3 days. And the community thought that he had fallen into the river and possibly drowned. Until 3 days later when he returned. And when he returned to the village 3 days later, he was in that place of joy and acknowledgement that there was something wondrous about life and there was something wonderful to live for. And he came forth with the teaching for his people of oneness. He taught the others to see that no one is a stranger and no one is an enemy. And that we are all connected and we are all part of the one, that divine presence of life in all things. And he taught that if we could all just see the world this way, we could heal the illusion of separateness. And it is that illusion of separateness that causes the conflict. It is when I feel separate from you that I get a little bent about something you say, or I react to something that you did, because I don't see us as connected. And so here we are, 5 centuries later. We're getting it slowly, we're getting there. But if we could just all remember that we are one. Valerie also shares a time in her life when she lived in California with her family. And she brings forth this quote that says, "You are a part of me I do not yet know." You are a part of me I do not yet know. And she talks about walking around on the farm and being out in nature and all of the chores that they did and the things that were happening and the many, many animals that she was able to connect with and care to and be a part of the lives of the animals. And she would look into the eyes of the beasts of the land and she would think, you are a part of me I do not yet know. What a beautiful concept that is. That perhaps what we can do in this world when we have those moments of seeming separateness is to remind ourselves that I can see within every person I interact with something that they don't know yet of themselves. And in like manner, they can see that within me. And doesn't that bring that idea of bringing us together in oneness even more succinct, more beautifully, to have that realization? Our theme this month is Living Everyday Wonder. And I just want to express my sincerest gratitude for Russell to step in about 2 days before the deadline and take over the talk last week. I want you all to acknowledge Russell Dennis, our practitioner. Beautiful job, and thank you. Thank you. And today's theme is Wonder, Wonder Everywhere. Now, I started to look at this when I was still not quite feeling up to par. I'll talk about that here in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to share another story just briefly with you. I found this week, and it touched my heart, and it touches on this beautiful quote again. The famous Italian race car driver, Enzo Maiorca, dove into the Sea of Syracuse and was talking to his daughter, Rosanna, who was aboard the boat. So she was on the boat, he was already in the water, and they were going to start diving. And he felt something nudge him on the shoulder. and he turned to see a dolphin. And the dolphin had this interesting kind of look to it and seemed startled or excited somehow. And the dolphin turned like he was trying to get Enzo to do something. And so Enzo followed the dolphin, and they went down into the water, and they discovered another dolphin that was caught in a fisherman's net. And so he immediately contacted his daughter on the boat and said, bring the equipment, bring the cutting tools, the things we need to free this dolphin. And she did, and they were able to get the dolphin free, and he and his daughter helped the dolphin get to the surface. And when the dolphin reached the surface, it let out a cry that almost sounded like a human squeal of joy. You see, a dolphin can be in the ocean for 10 minutes before it has to surface again. And what they noticed at this moment in time while they were with this dolphin was that it was a female and she was pregnant. And Enzo turned to the male dolphin who had gotten his attention, and everyone was just kind of right there together in the water, and it seemed like a little celebration going on when the male dolphin came over to Enzo and touched him on his cheek as though to kiss him in gratitude for saving not one life, but 2 lives. When you have an opportunity to look into the eyes of an animal of the wild, if you would call it that, this quote means so much. A fox on your path, a raccoon in the night, even a squirrel on a fence. Let us move from that place of annoyance when these things show up from time to time and move into that place of wonder and this knowing. How beautiful that is. Dr. Ernest Holmes talks about common things of life. And this is where I want us to take a look at this wonder everywhere. Because as I was feeling better this past week and able to get around town, I thought, okay, so I need to find some things that I think are wondrous because I'm talking about this on Sunday. And I didn't have to look anywhere at all. I was sitting in traffic, which happens to us a lot, right? And I'm looking at the back of the car in front of me, and I noticed the taillights of the car. And what I realized was that the taillight of the car was not just this red plastic thing. It had red, and then it had this kind of little white emblem inside it, and then it had these little black kind of curlicue designs in it. And I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm thinking, but they put a lot of detail into a taillight that we don't even really pay any attention to. And then I started looking around me at all the other cars, and I couldn't find and I couldn't tell you what kind of car it was because, I don't pay attention to that. I'd have to read it off the side. But I'm looking around me, and I'm noticing that there's taillights everywhere, and they're all unique. Some of them have a little zigzaggy thing. Some of them have a thing where it goes around the side of the car. And then I went online to look at some, and I got to look at some of the old 1950s and 1960s vehicles. And look at this amazing technology that has changed over the years. It's wondrous to see that and to realize that I wasn't even noticing it before. And I've been driving for a really, really long time. I have seen a lot of red taillights, but I didn't pay attention. And so what Holmes says to us is he says, even the common things of life assume a natural goodness, beauty, and dignity when viewed as a whole. There is wonder, my friends. There is wonder everywhere. In this room, in our laughter, in our connection, in our silence. As Dawn shared in the quote from Helen Keller, even in the darkness, there is wonder. And this week, my encouragement to you is to pay attention to that, to really latch onto that, because that's what revives the passion in us. That's what gets us excited. That's what gets us that place of, I'm really happy to be here. Because this life is a gift, amazing gift. And 2022 is going to be pretty phenomenal. Dr. Holmes also says this: when a person stands in awe of grandeur, something deep within responds. Something within embraces the ocean. Something within melts into the mountain, and he becomes one with them. Nature is talking to us. I know you've noticed. I have friends that live in Tennessee area who've gotten more snow than ever because it doesn't snow there. So they had like a lot. And here we are in Colorado with, a little couple inches of snow one day, and then it's kind of gone, and then a couple inches the next day, and then it's kind of gone. And if the weatherman knows what he's talking about, and I won't attest to that because I've seen alternative thoughts around that. But anyway, we're not even going to have snow this coming week. So the weather is doing some amazing things, but let's look at the wonder of it. We don't have to go into fear and, oh my gosh, what are we going to do this summer, and what's going to happen with our water supply? And we don't have to go into all of that. That's being handled at some level. We can take that to prayer. But in the moment of walking outside in the cold weather, and suddenly the clouds part and that sun shines and that beautiful blue sky, oh my gosh, my friends, that's what we need to live in that moment, that space, that miracle of how life shows up. There is a giant shift happening with our planet right now. You can't even argue it. It is so obvious. There is a consciousness that is moving forward, that is raising the vibrational level of many, many people, that collective consciousness that we talk about. Yes, there is still the disgruntled. Yes, there is still the controversial concepts. Yes, there are still the arguments. Yes, there are still those moments in time when we can't reach an agreement. However, we are all being called to something bigger, deeper, greater than we ever have been before. I choose to be a part of that. You get to make your own choice. It's just the new moon came on the 3rd, was it? Of January, we had a new moon. The new moon brings an energy with it. And you can do the whole astrological thing or not. It does not matter. But the planets and the positioning of the planets and the way the earth is shifting, changing, turning, spinning, and all of this wonderful, wonderful stuff that's going on has an energy about it that impacts us as human beings. We are being called. I am being called. This became crystal clear to me in this past week. We are asked to step into the world with action and intention. If you thought you were going to sit back on your laurels and eat popcorn and watch the world go by, I'm sorry, that was 2020. We now get to get out and do stuff. We get to stand up and be active. We get to participate in what's going on around us. Jerry Spence says, I would rather have a mind opened by wonder than one closed by belief. So back to that idea I told you a while ago about how sometimes we step into that concept of separateness. That's a piece of it. That's a piece of it right there. That idea that this is my belief and you can't make me change it. I'm separate from you. That's heartbreaking. That hurts my heart to hear and even see that behavior. I would rather have a mind opened by wonder. We need to question things. We need to be curious. If you're watching something on television and they say something about a person, an author, a book, a story, go check it out. Go find out more about it. Investigate the information And don't just Google it. I think you got that lesson last week with Russell. And by the way, if any of you missed his talk, it is online. It is on our Facebook page. It's on our website. It's on YouTube. You can still go back and catch up on it because he laid the perfect platform for this month and for this year. Don't just Google it. First of all, every now and then I've discovered that if I ask the question differently, Google contradicts itself. So it's like, okay, you're not my tool. You are not my support system. I understand that. I get it. Take time to overlook the little things, the things that maybe you didn't pay quite enough attention to before. Kierkegaard said, "Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." I love this quote because this is all about changing our language. If I quit saying the word problem and I start saying the word experience, everything in my conscious awareness shifts. I look at it differently, I think of it differently, I allow it to come forth differently. And so here's what happens. We have this new year, and we have all this hype and build up to get to the new year, and oh my gosh, are you setting, what are those things called? New Year's resolutions, which I don't believe in those. Are you setting a resolution, and how are you doing with your resolutions, and yada, 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 whatever. And what we do in this philosophy is we look at how we can close out the year and what we can do to set the intention for the new year. Set an intention. What do I want to create? How do I want this to come forth and show up? And then what happens is something shows up and we resist it. Is that crazy? I mean, maybe that didn't happen in your world, but that happens in my world all the time. Is that all of a sudden there's this resistance and I'm thinking, what just happened here? Let me give you an example. On December the 29th, very early in the morning, I was sound asleep in my bed when my dog came into the room and was making some kind of racket. And I jumped out of bed. I don't know why. Obviously, I thought there was an emergency. And immediately this energy just grabbed a hold of my body, spun me in a circle, threw me back on the bed, and I laid there and the whole room was spinning. And the words that I spoke were, no, 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 no. If that's not resistance, I don't know what is. And I laid there thinking, this can't be happening. I'm holding onto the bed because it feels like it's moving. I know what this feeling is. I've had vertigo in the past. And I don't want it, and I didn't ask for it. And later in the day, when I was able to actually kind of maneuver around a little bit, I made a few phone calls. I asked for prayer support, and I asked for the dizziness to stop. Make the spinning go away. Make the dizziness stop. A couple hours later, in the afternoon, I was sitting in the room thinking, well, I can't watch television, and I can't really read a book right now, and I can't even look at my phone or the computer. And maybe the question I should ask is, what's going on here? Is there something I need to know? Instead of don't and stop, how about I just breathe into it and go, what is this about? Now, when I did my little worksheet that many of you got in the mail that said, how do you want to close out 2021? And what do you want to turn your attention to 2022? I had some pretty huge ideas, mindsets, and intentions in that process. There are some things about me that have got to change, and that I decided that this, done. I'm done with this. This is going away. I'm not buying into those times when possibly ego takes over. I get to find another way to work with my ego. I am not going to be that person who is prideful to the degree that I might be better than somebody else. I'm not going to live in that world. I had some very significant soul-searching things that I wanted to change. Well, guess what I discovered? I asked for exactly what was happening. Because when you throw 52 things at the universe and you want them all to take place on the 31st of December and be gone on the 1st of January, the universe has no choice but to pick you up and shake you really, really hard and go, okay, there you go, figure it out. And that's kind of what my experience became. Except in addition to that, I came to the realization that here I think I'm doing all this wonderful self-care for myself. But my phone is always right here. I'm always doing something with my phone. Or I'm always on my laptop doing something with my laptop. Or I've always got my nose in a book. Or there's always been this other activity. I used to call it multitasking. I have stopped calling it that. I learned that I had to let it all go. Even this role that I love so much, even coming and doing a Sunday service, there was no way I could have made it last Sunday and been able to talk in complete sentences because I had, my daughter-in-law calls it water brain. I had this thing going on with my head where I'd start to talk and then it was like, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't know where I'm at anymore. Because that whole ability for the brain to focus on specific conscious thought was doing this for a while. So I did ask for it. I'll be more specific next time. I know what to say, and let's not have it show up this way, and let's not have it show up this way. So what is it for you? What have you decided you want to do as you step into a new year? 365 days to do with whatever we want, to create whatever we choose, to look at the wonder around us and to embrace it, and to know that it's not just mine right here, it's with all of us connected in this way. I choose to be part of the new consciousness. And that voice that likes to say, well, yeah, but I've been doing pretty good. You know, I'm a minister. I've been a minister for 3 years, went through all the school. I kind of got this, I got this, I got this, I got that. No, that voice gets to shut up because there's more. There's more to do. There's more to be. There's more to become. And I get it. And I choose to be a part of that this year. This quote says, "Oh, to be alive in such an age when miracles are everywhere, and every inch of common air throbs a tremendous prophecy of greater marvels yet to be." Now, this particular quote has the author's name as Walt Whitman, but I also found out that there is another person who has possibly been the person credited with this quote, and her name is Angela Morgan. I just want to mention that in case somebody's going, oh, that wasn't by Walt Whitman. So now we've got it covered. So we can stop that chatter and we can come back to the wonder. To be alive in such an age, there are miracles every single day around us. I got in my car the other day and this stupid little light that wants to tell me something's wrong with one of my tires came on. And I drove down the street and I started projecting all the places I have to go in the next couple of days, and I don't want to have to deal with this, and oh my gosh, I have to go pull in and have somebody check it, which takes 10 minutes. And when I parked in the garage later and came out again later to go get the tire checked, the light was gone. Those are little miracles to me. It's not I imagined it. It's not a faulty wire. That's where we go. We come to some rational argument about why that happened. No, it didn't need to be on. For a second, it thought it was low on air, and then it realized it really wasn't. That's a miracle. That's the world I live in. So I have a little game for you this week. And you get to play it with anyone you come in contact with, and you don't even have to tell them you're playing it. And you can play it with your partner or spouse. When you look at a person, maybe someone you've seen before, I want you to look at them and ask the question, what is it about this person that I have not been seeing before? What is it about this individual that I have failed to notice? What is the wonder that is standing before me that I want to acknowledge before I turn and walk away? The gift, if you will. When you walk outside, if there's no one around and it's just nature, what is the wonder? I have noticed birds, more birds than I have ever seen in our neighborhood. It is January. I don't know what they're doing, but all of a sudden, it's like there's hundreds of them in the trees all around the neighborhood. Had I not been considering the wonder of life, I could have gone out, walked the dog, came back, and not even noticed that there's something that seems to have shifted, that there's something that seems to have changed. So I offer you this game for the week, and I recommend you try it out, because this will support you in how you choose to show up in 2022, and this will support you in being in that place of wonderment all the time, all the time. I have a quote here from Guruk Nanak. He says this: "Wondrous are the forms, wondrous are the colors, wondrous are the beings who wander around unclothed. Wondrous is the wind, wondrous is the water, wondrous is the fire which works wonder. Beholding these wonders, I am wonderstruck." This week, this year, I choose to be wonderstruck. I choose to be living in that place where everything that's happening is a surprise, is a new idea, is a new way to look at it, is something wonderful for me to recognize and acknowledge. My friends, this is our lives. This is our lives. This is your life. Are you living it? I encourage you to do that. And I encourage you to pick up that idea of wonder this week and truly live in that place of gratitude and wonder for all the amazing gifts we have been given. They're everywhere, everywhere around us. Let's remember that this week. The wonder that's everywhere. Please pray with me. Practitioners, please stand. So just breathing into this moment, this space, this time, this right here, this right now moment. As we were reminded in the song earlier, we are born in this moment. We are beginning right now. And as we begin in this moment, right here, right now, we begin with God. Because what we know in the deep, deep-seated part of our beings, in our core, is that Spirit is here. Spirit is everywhere. Spirit surrounds us. Spirit fills us. Spirit guides us in all things, always. And what I know for each and every one of us is that this Spirit living within us has this power that it gives to us to use as we choose, to use as we need to navigate our life in the way that we see best for each and every one of us. And it's perfect and it's good. And what I know right here and right now is that all people everywhere are blessed. Yes, there are so many people right now that are grieving, that are dealing with loss, that are dealing with senseless acts of fear and hatred and trying to cope. And I know that these people need us to stand for them, need to know that they are not alone, need to recognize that they can be comforted in some way. I know all are blessed. I know all are blessed, and I know that regardless of the behaviors we might see and the things we might interpret in that wonderful mind of ours that tends to be judgmental, I know that in that space we can choose to know we're one. We are one, we are connected, we are united, and we are unified. And that is the beauty and wonder of all life. So I just give thanks. I give thanks for this opportunity to be here. I give thanks for the opportunity to speak these words. I give thanks for the very privilege to open the channel between us and Spirit and speak the words that we call prayer, knowing that it is answered with a resounding yes. And so I let it go. I let it all go and I let it be, releasing it onto the law of mind where Spirit is activating and percolating and manifesting everything. We let it go. And we affirm together in one voice as we say, and so it is.
On every single path I have stood strong, then cowered fast. What a strange perception. Well, life is demanding, but I am understanding. The best I could was where I stood for a higher good and a greater truth, where once it was covered, now I have proof.
Hello, I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.